Who won the popular vote in the 2020 presidential election?
The popular vote is not something that's mentioned in the Constitution. And
I'm asking you, it's a basic question. If you took an 8th grader from Kansas and Missouri and Iowa and Illinois and said, who won the popular vote in the 2020 election, and they submitted an explanation of the Electoral College, you couldn't give them a passing grade. So let me just ask you, as an American citizen who I'm sure voted in that election, who won the popular vote in the 2020 election?
YouTube reaction script, The Political Brawl Breakdown. Hey everyone, welcome back. So I just saw a snippet of this hearing and I had to sit down and record this immediately. We're about to watch a masterclass in how to deal with a career politician who thinks he's smarter than the room. We've got Senator Dick Durbin, who, let's be honest, has been in D.C. longer than some of you have been alive, trying to play these gotcha games with a Trump judicial nominee, Justin D. Smith. Now, look at the contrast here. You've got Durbin, who is essentially the embodiment of the swamp, trying to force a legal scholar into a political corner. He's not asking about the law. He's not asking about the Constitution. He's asking about feelings and narratives. It's the same old playbook. If you can't win on the facts, try to make the guy look like a radical. But Justin Smith? This guy is a rock. He doesn't blink. He doesn't play the game. He sticks to the text of the Constitution like his life depends on it. Honestly, it's refreshing to see someone actually respect the law instead of bowing down to the DC elite. Let's get into the full video and see how Smith absolutely dismantles Durbin's desperate attempts at a gotcha moment.
Will you acknowledge that President Trump lost the 2020 election to Joe Biden?
I acknowledge, as Chairman Grasso was talking about in his opening remarks, that under Article 2 in the 12th Amendment, that the Electoral College cast their votes in December of 2020. In January of 2021, Congress met to open and count those votes. And as a result of that process, Congress certified Joe Biden as the president.
Who won the popular vote in the 2020 presidential election?
The popular vote is not something that's mentioned in the Constitution. And
I'm asking you, it's a basic question. If you took an 8th grader from Kansas and Missouri and Iowa and Illinois and said, who won the popular vote in the 2020 election, and they submitted an explanation of the Electoral College, you couldn't give them a passing grade. So let me just ask you, as an American citizen who I'm sure voted in that election, who won the popular vote in the 2020 election?
As an American citizen and someone who, as Senator Schmidt said, cares about precision, I want to be very clear that, as a lawyer looking at the Constitution, it's the Electoral College that matters. And that process played forth in December of 2020 and January of 2021.
At the end of this exercise, at some point, there is going to be a video, I'm sure, that will be released, which will watch the painful explanation by every nominee from the Trump White House for the federal bench as to why they couldn't answer the basic question every single person in this room knows is true. Donald Trump lost the election in 2020 to Joe Biden. He may have regretted it, he may have denied it, but it's a fact. And the reason why we continue to engage in these political gymnastics is a question about whether or not you can ever say no to Donald Trump when it comes to any future service. And that is a basic concern. Another concern I have, you're very active in political organizations. In 2023, you served as treasurer for a political committee in the Club for Growth Action, Missouri. You also you owned a company called Pervinco, which did $15,000 in general consulting with the Club for Growth. According to your questionnaire, you're currently a board member of the Yorktown Fund and First Principles Action, both of which are right-wing organizations with connections to Leonard Leo. Based on public records, 3 groups involved in political polling and consulting are registered at your address: Remington Research Group, Madison McQueen, and Armada Strategies. By my count, that 7 different organizations that you've had some affiliation with all have one thing in common. They are right-wing organizations. What we ask nominees, even when Democrats are seeking positions like this, is there a ghost of a chance, if you became the circuit judge, that you would have any objectivity when it comes to political questions? And what has been found in the past in this committee is that if somebody engaged in, quote, socialist poetry in high school, they're disqualified. So now we have you with at least 7 right-wing organizations where you had some affiliation or leadership. Is there any ghost of a chance that you could be objective in the future?
Ranking Member Durbin, I would be fair and impartial in any case that came before me. And let me explain why. But first, let me just correct some of the information in your question. Respectfully, the three of those organizations that you mentioned, I have no affiliation with. I know that there are some committee staff that had some questions. There was a clerical error filed in one report that listed my home address for three of those organizations. If you were to look at the State Ethics Committee, those are organizations that are based in different parts of the country, Florida, Kansas City, and California, and they've been reported at those addresses dozens of times in many different states into the FEC. It was a simple mistake on a report that I did not review. So I want to be clear that I have no affiliation with any of those groups.
We will correct the record.
As to the other organizations that you mentioned, one thing about me is I've been very grateful for opportunities to engage in our political process throughout the course of my life. It's something my dad and I did growing up because it was something fun as a father and son to go out and get to meet some of our elected officials. During college and law school and through my professional career, I've been able to be great friends with a whole bunch of people that don't share the same views as me. You have letters before you from people who are many different political parties who are strongly supporting me because they know the type of person that I am. Some of the letters, I think there's one from the dean of the University of Missouri Law School. He even notes in the letter that he and I don't agree on everything, but he still strongly supported me because of the character and the type of person that I am. And in every case that I've been involved in, some of which do have some political issues, I've depended on judges to set aside their personal views and treat my case fairly and impartially, to apply the law and the facts to the case that I've brought before them, and to do so without regard to partisan affiliation. And that's the type of judge that I would strive to be, to set aside those personal views and to apply the law and the facts, because that would be my role as a judge, not as a partisan or as an advocate, but as a judge, where any personal views I have would no longer be relevant.
Wow, just wow. Did you guys see that? Durbin is literally out there using 8th grader analogies. I mean, how condescending can you get? That is exactly why people are fed up with Washington. He's sitting there with that smug look, trying to talk down to a guy who clearly knows the law better than Durbin knows his own staff. Smith's response was perfect. He didn't give Durbin the soundbite he was fishing for. He stayed in the lane of constitutional precision, because that's what a judge is supposed to do. A judge isn't there to give you a political opinion on the popular vote, which, as Smith correctly pointed out, isn't even in the Constitution for a reason. Durbin was trying to make it about common sense, but in a courtroom, common sense is following the actual written law. And then the affiliations part. Oh man, Durbin brings out this list of scary right-wing groups like he's uncovering some deep state conspiracy. It was so transparent. He's trying to say that because Smith has beliefs and worked with conservative groups, he can't be objective. But did you hear Smith's answer? He laid it out beautifully. He talked about his friends on both sides. He talked about the clerical errors in Durbin's own research, which, by the way, was an absolute embarrassment for the senator's team. Smith basically looked him in the eye and said, "I've spent my life respecting the impartiality of the bench, and I expect the same from you." The body language says it all. Smith was calm, collected, and authoritative. Durbin looked like a man who realized mid-sentence that his trap didn't work. He tried to bully a guy who actually knows what he's talking about, and he failed miserably. This is the kind of person we need on the 8th Circuit, someone who won't be intimidated by the political theater in D.C., someone who puts the Constitution above the noise. What do you guys think? Was Durbin out of line with that 8th grader comment, or is it just me? Drop a comment below. I want to hear if you're as fired up about this as I am. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you're tired of the swamp games. I'll catch you on the next one.